Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the fierce, character-driven story of Hadley Thompson. She is a youth rodeo athlete who basically willed herself to greatness through just pure, unfiltered determination. Honestly, if you've ever felt like the odds were totally stacked against you, or if you just love a really good underdog story where grit beats out privilege every single time, you are going to want to pay close attention to what we've got lined up for you today.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a fundamental question. What does it actually take to rise to the absolute top of the youth rodeo world? I mean, is it having the deepest pockets? Is it buying the most expensive, professionally trained horses? Or is there some kind of intangible X factor that separates the good from the truly great? Well, to answer that, we've got to go back to the very beginning of Hadley's career. And trust me on this, it is not your typical starting line.
Picture this. Hadley is just 7 years old and her brothers dare her to roll down a hill. She does it, because of course she does, but she ends up breaking her arm right past the elbow. Now, for almost any other 7-year-old on the planet, that's an immediate trip to the hospital, lots of tears, and weekend plans totally canceled, right? But Hadley wasn't most kids. She had a rodeo to compete in. So what did she do? She got a fresh cast slapped on her right arm, marched right back out to the arena, steered her horse with just her left hand, and raced barrels anyway. No way she was sitting that out.
And looking back, she literally said, "I was pretty devastated because I still wanted to compete. I ended up getting to run barrels in a cast." Think about that for a second. Her primary concern wasn't the agonizing pain of a broken bone. She was devastated because she thought she might miss the competition. It perfectly illustrates this profound psychological trait you see in elite competitors. The fear of missing out on the arena is way worse than any physical discomfort. That absolute refusal to quit, that is the foundational building block of Hadley Thompson.
That kind of grit sets the stage for a high school career that basically reads like a 3-act play. Act 1 is her sophomore year in 2024, which was just filled with these incredibly frustrating near misses. Then we've got Act 2, her 2025 junior year, which is all about ultimate redemption. And finally, Act 3, coming up in 2026, her senior year finale, where she's going to defend her titles. Let's unpack that frustrating sophomore year first, because it's super important.
So in 2024, Hadley qualifies for the National High School Finals Rodeo in 5 different events. Keep in mind she's just an underclassman at this point, yet she walks away with 3 second-place finishes: breakaway roping, goat tying, and all-around cowgirl. To literally anyone else, that is a massive, incredibly successful week. But listen to her mindset on this. "I hate winning second so much. It makes me madder to win second than it does third." Wow, talk about elite perfectionist standards. When reporters swarmed her to congratulate her on being the runner-up, she thanked them politely, but she firmly let them know that wasn't what she set out to do.
And that exact frustration birthed what we're calling the promise. Hadley looked at those reporters and explicitly stated, "I'm winning first in all 3 of those next year." Now, people smiled and politely nodded, you know how it goes, but very few people actually believed an underclassman could sweep the board the following year. But remember that 7-year-old racing in a cast? Yeah, you do not doubt Hadley Thompson. She took all that doubt, bottled it up, and used it as absolute high-octane fuel during the off-season. She focused relentlessly on shaving mere hundreds of a second off her times.
So the really crucial point here is how she approached her return to the arena for her junior year in Rock Springs. All that grueling off-season work allowed her to completely shift her mindset. She had this realization that's simple but honestly profound. The more you think, the worse it goes. She already put in the physical preparation, so when it was time to actually compete, she just abandoned the overthinking, completely trusted her deeply ingrained muscle memory, and simply went out to do her job. It's a literal masterclass in separating preparation from performance.
And boy did it pay off. The results completely speak for themselves. She executed the redemption she promised perfectly. First place in breakaway roping, first place in goat tying, and the absolute holy grail, the title of all-around cowgirl. She swept the exact same 3 events she placed second in the year before. She didn't just meet her incredibly lofty goals, she came in and completely shattered any lingering doubts from the rodeo world. So where does a drive like that even come from? Well, to understand the root of it, consider the number 8. Hadley is actually the middle child of 8 siblings. She was raised on a working ranch right outside of Yoder, Wyoming. And let me tell you, growing up in a massive family on a working ranch means you learn really early on that absolutely nothing is handed to you. You've got to earn your keep, speak up for yourself, and pull your own weight every single day.
Which brings us to a stark contrast in the elite youth rodeo circuit. On one side of the fence, you have a lot of legacy rodeo families. These are kids born right into the sport, who often have immediate access to incredibly expensive, professionally trained competition horses. And then you have the Thompsons. They're first-generation rodeo athletes. Her dad rodeoed a little bit, but mostly they just grew up ranching, roping, and doctoring cattle to help out. Their success wasn't bought. It was built from the ground up through raw, calloused family effort.
This whole environment created this really fascinating dynamic that we can call the family pact. Hadley's parents, Thorpe and Shelley, they supported their 8 kids' growing rodeo interests as much as humanly possible. We're talking immense sacrifices of time, money, and just endless highway miles. But it was a two-way street. The pact was super simple. The parents provide the opportunity, but the kids, they had to provide the effort and the wins to help pay their own way down the road. It instilled this deep sense of responsibility and just a necessary hunger to win.
In that relentless work ethic, it runs incredibly deep in the Thompson DNA. Actually, just look at Hadley's older sister, Hayden. In 2025, Hayden didn't just compete on the circuit, she totally dominated. She earned the all-around Cowgirl title at the College National Finals Rodeo in Casper, and she was named the Breakaway Resistal Rookie of the Year for being the top earner in her very first professional season. The Thompson name might not have always been recognized in the sport, but thanks to this family-wide dedication, they are absolute royalty right now.
Which sets the stage beautifully for what's coming up next. Mark your calendars for July 19th through the 25th, 2026, the Sandhills Global Event Center in Lincoln, Nebraska. This is going to be Hadley's final high school ride, but the dynamic has completely shifted, right? She isn't the 7-year-old with the broken arm anymore, and she definitely isn't the frustrated sophomore with a chip on her shoulder. She's entering that arena as the undisputed 3-time world champion. She is officially the one that everyone else wants to take down. Yet, even with that massive target on her back, she maintains this remarkably mature mindset heading into the finale. She readily acknowledges that rodeo is just full of uncontrollable variables. You know, the livestock could draw, the dirt conditions in the arena. Her philosophy here gives us a pretty profound takeaway. You can't control the universe, the stock, the ground. You can really only control your own execution. Whatever happens after you do your job just happens. But of course, Hadley's vision extends way, way beyond Lincoln, Nebraska. Her next chapter is incredibly ambitious. Step 1, defend her titles. Step 2, take the scholarship money she has absolutely earned and head down to Southwest Texas College to work toward her degree. And step 3, take on the colossal task of competing in both college and professional rodeo at the exact same time. Following right in her sister Hayden's footsteps, she is proving that her drive does not end with a high school diploma.
Which really leaves us with one final, undeniable thought to chew on. We have seen her conquer broken bones, we've seen her shatter doubts, and we've watched her sweep world titles through sheer willpower and a gritty, blue-collar work ethic. So the question isn't whether Hadley Thompson is ready for the professional circuit. The real question you have to ask yourself is, as this unstoppable underdog rides into the pros, is the rodeo world actually ready for her? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown helps you bring a little bit of that Thompson grit into whatever arena you're competing in today.